Welcome to Sugg Cemetery. Please help honor our pioneers.
Hello! Welcome to Adventures in TV Land. For today's adventure, I've come to Sugg Cemetery in Pocahontas, Illinois, just to kind of explore it and to look things over.
Now, as far as I am aware, there is no one famous or infamous or a semi-celebrity or anything like that buried here at Sugg Cemetery. The cemetery it's a very old cemetery. It dates back to the early 1800s. And it is notable because there are veterans buried here from the American Revolutionary War, from the Civil War, and a few other wars.
Now, roughly about 55 years ago, Sugg Cemetery was almost completely forgotten. Now, I know in the state it is now, it's not in the best of shape anyway, but it was even much, much worse 55 years ago. And Judge DeLaurentie, who was the Bond County Circuit Judge around that time, he heard about the cemetery and heard about the disrepair and thought it was a tragedy that so many fallen heroes, people who had servicemen, their final resting place here was basically being eradicated over time and being forgotten into oblivion. And so he got together, he basically spearheaded a campaign to save the cemetery, appointed new people, a new board of directors, and he served on that board, I believe, until his death. And so out here in the cemetery, he is not buried here, but there is, let me show you.
There is this flagpole here that was dedicated in his honor. The base, now the flags aren't on there because they normally don't fly flags out here except when there is a burial or on holidays such as Veterans Day and Memorial Day and whatnot. But there is this plaque here at the bottom, at the base of the flagpole, in memory of John DeLaurentie, 1933 to 2004. He was a trustee until his death in 2004. He was a very well-respected judge in this area of the state of Illinois. I was speaking about the graves of veterans. Here is one of them. Here's the gravesite of Charles Johnson, who was a private in the North Carolina militia during the Revolutionary War. He died in 1821, and he is buried here in Sugg Cemetery. Here's a tombstone of another Revolutionary War veteran. Looks like his name was Williamson Plant Andersons. He was a part of the Virginia militia during the Revolutionary War. I can't make out any other dates or anything like that on his tombstone there, but he's buried here as well. Here's a tombstone of Josiah F. Sugg. He was a veteran of the Mexican War, the American-Mexican War. He died just, I guess, right before the Civil War started, April 7th, 1861. He was only 40 years old. Now, there are several tombstones and graves of veterans of the Civil War buried here. Here's one of these, Eli Collier. He died on March 15th, 1866, looks like. No, it looks like 1898. Well, I was way off. He was a cook. Here's the grave, and it's a fallen tombstone of another Civil War veteran, Burl Minor, who was a private in the Illinois Infantry. Died in 1871. It's the grave of another Civil War veteran, Robert C. Kirkham. Robert C. Kirkham. Died on January 1st, 1880. There's the grave, the tombstone of another Civil War veteran, James Redding, who passed away on February 11th, 1909. He was a corporal. Wow. Here are tombstones of a couple other veterans. I'm not for sure which conflict they fought in. The one on the left is Fielding B. Stubblefield. He died on November 17th, 1901. And the one on the right is John McLeod. He was a private in the Illinois Infantry, but there's no marking of exactly when he died or what conflict it was he fought in. Now, even though the cemetery has, there's been cleanup, there was work done in it, whatnot, the board, the people that are, I guess, somewhat responsible for it, doesn't have a lot of money, and sadly, it's still, there's a lot of disrepair here. I mean, there's a lot of tombstones that have fallen over, such as these right here. There are places here where it looks like there aren't even any tombstones, but because they have fallen over and broken into many pieces, some of which have been buried, some of which have just totally decayed, crumbled. I was talking again about, the kind of disrepair. Here's another tombstone. Top part of the tombstone has fallen off. I can't read the name. It looks like the last name was Singer. Died, looks like, in 1884. Now these two graves here, the stones, well, they're covered in moss, first of all, as you can see, and lichen. But I'm not for sure, based off it, if they were laying across the top, which I think they were originally, probably. And the cement and everything is just rotted away and falling apart. And now they're just kind of laying there. If they weren't lying flat over the concrete there, originally, it means they have fallen on top of some other graves. Here's a grave of someone who was definitely an immigrant to this country. It says at the bottom here, they died in 1908. But Ruhe in Frieden. Ruhe in Frieden,
which is German for rest in peace.
Now these graves here, some of which are replacements for the original tombstones that were there. It's the Gibbs, and that reminds me of the play Our Town, which I believe revolved around the Gibbs family. When I was walking down the lane to the cemetery here earlier, there were all these vultures that flied out of the way. I thought it kind of strange. And now I know why they were here. Right over there, it's the remains of a deer corpse. It's about 7/10 of the way eaten, decomposed. Right there, deer corpse. And speaking of deer, there is this here along the trail, a little bit further away on a different location, is this deer stand.
Now, if you've been touched or would like to, by any way, by this video, the things you've seen, if you'd like to support the cemetery and try to help with the upkeep, there is a way you can do that.
Right here on the sign, on the entry lane, it says, "Please help honor our pioneers. Contributions are appreciated. Send to Steve Brown, Route 2, Pocahontas, Illinois, or send contributions to the May Funeral Home in Pocahontas, Illinois."
History truly is all around us, even in your small corner of the world. There are interesting stories, things to be told, things to be seen that others may not be aware, do not know of, or in some cases may not even care about all that much. But there are others who do. What are your stories in your neighborhood and your part of the world? Let me know in the comment section below. And maybe someday I can come, and Adventures in TV Land can come and check them out as well. It just amazes me because back there in that small little cemetery, there's at least one person who was alive during the time of the founding of this country, who probably very well could have fought at Yorktown and been there and was a part and was around, was alive when the Declaration of Independence was signed, when the United States of America began. He's buried here in Pocahontas, Illinois, the Sugg Cemetery. That connection there has connections. That man, why isn't that grave, has a connection to so many other people, so many other events throughout our country and history. And he's buried right here. Well, this has been another adventure in TV Land, where we visited Sugg Cemetery in Pocahontas, Illinois. Thank you for watching. If you've liked this video, hit the like button. If you disliked, hit the dislike button. Subscribe to my channel for further content and ring that bell for email notifications. And if there's some place that you would like to see me visit, or if you would like to tell me about a piece of history, something interesting in your part of the world, leave a comment in the comment section. And if you've enjoyed this adventure in TV Land, or any of the adventures in TV Land, you can help support the channel by going to Buy Me a Coffee and making a financial contribution there. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, that's a wrap.